suddenly his eyes kind of lifted up, and this story started pouring out of his mouth. It was so
Wow.
extraordinary, and it was my sort of why. I thought, this is what I want. This is how I want to be in the world, and it's about being of service and contribution. And during this time, I was just starting the Caritas Coach Education Program, which is a
Wow.
Watson Caring Science program, and it was just a perfect sort of segue, perfect timing for me. And I just had this kind of epiphany of like, it's okay. I can be gentle and kind to myself. I don't have to fight through the world. There will never be another Jean Watson ever, and it's not. And so, but we know this work. You know this work. Our academic, colleagues know the academic work. So I think what's important is that this work continues into perpetuity.
Greetings and welcome to the Whispers of Wellness, my show on all things well-being. And I am so honored today to have the one and only Julie Watson with me. Welcome to the show, Julie.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be on here, your
Yeah,
new show.
I know. I'm excited about it. So I actually decided to do this. So upon retirement, I kind of went through this big transition and transformational type of thing. And, one of the things that I saw that was a gap as I was working was really the well-being of our people that work, that take care of us. And so that's why I wanted to like branch off and do a show because you were on When the Moment Chooses Me. You were amazing. So go back and see that one if you haven't seen that one. But I really wanted to just focus in on this particular area. So those things that really blessed my life, like hearing science, I wanted to bring it on here so that other organizations and people can hear what this valuable thing is. So before we get started, I would love for you to tell everybody who you are and then a little bit about who Julie is before we get into
Mm-hmm.
WCSI.
Okay, well, thank you. And yes, my name is Julie Watson. I am Dr. Jean Watson's daughter, and that can be a challenging person to be sometimes because it does, I question myself, sort of who am I within this realm of within which I work. So I am the executive director of Watson Caring Science Institute. But what's important to my work and my life is to 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 ensure that the legacy of Dr. Watson's work expands into the future. And so we're a nonprofit 501c3, and I work with an incredible amount of beautiful, caring board members that are really working on our strategic planning and so forth. But me as a human being, I actually I can relate to your retirement shift because I think sometimes it takes those moments of crisis or big changes that you kind of don't necessarily have any say in the matter. I think sometimes those are crises, but they're also opportunity. And my sort of example is that I've lived in. I got married to an Englishman, 25 years ago or so. I'm now divorced, but I was living and I raised my children in England. And it was when I had a crisis of kind of who am I? The kids were growing up, and I was going through a challenging divorce, painful divorce, that I decided like it was that who am I and what do I want to be in the world and how do I want to contribute in the world. And with my colleague, I co-founded this creative writing and teaching center for young people. It was all free at source, so it was specifically focused on schools that had a higher need of socioeconomically challenged students. But I remember part of our methodology was taking these young children out of the classroom into another environment to inspire them to see the world in a different way. And what we were interested in is helping them with stories. So
Mm.
so build by building confidence and making them feel that they have a story that they want to share was really part of what we were trying to do. And I remember working, we were called story mentors. We weren't teachers, we were something else. We were story mentors. And I took this young boy, he was about 9, and he was the fidgety one in the back, and he was being silly, and it was hard to concentrate, and the teacher was going, "Mm." And so I went and sat next to him on the floor, and we were asking them to write stories, and we created a sort of a main story, the main story, the main character as a sort of secondary character, an environment, and had it kind of set up a certain way. And this young boy I knew he had a story in there, but he was trying to write it.
Mm.
And writing for him was just such a challenge, and he hated it. And it obviously had been something that he'd been having to work on, work on, work on. And I sort of said to him, look, you know what? Actually, we're not interested in how well your penmanship is. I want you to tell me the story. How about if I write it for you? And he suddenly, his eyes kind of lifted up, and this story started pouring out of his mouth. It was so
Wow.
extraordinary. I mean, it was about chocolate bar running away with a Krispy Kreme and the Easter Bunny, and there was a few minions thrown in there as well, but that's okay. But it was an extraordinary story. And then at the end, he raised his hand to share his
Mm.
story, and the teacher at the end said, I've never ever seen this boy have this response like this. And it was my sort of why I thought, this is what I want. This is how I want to be in the world, and it's about being of service and contribution. And during this time, I was just starting the Caritas Coach Education Program, which is a
Yeah.
Watson Caring Science program, and it was just a perfect sort of segue, perfect timing for me to really start questioning and investing in myself, so that I could be of service. And that's me, really. I thought that would
Well,
be
I
I
love
felt that was an important story to you, for you.
I think that is a very important story. And the reason I say that is because what I saw you do in there, you actually saw him, like
Mm-hmm.
really saw him beyond his issues that he was having, and allow him to actually be seen by his words through you writing it down. So that is so profound. So tell me a little bit more, Julie. I really like what you just said, because I think that a lot of us in our lives, we are muted because of life circumstances. And so when you're finally able to share your story, it does something to you, because that's what happened to me when I found my voice. That's when I began to start speaking up and build the confidence to really put it
Mm-hmm.
out there of what was in my heart. So tell me a
Right.
little bit more about storytelling, because I think it's powerful.
It really is. And I mean, that is really all we have is storytelling. And in fact, one of the projects that we were working on last year with the board is really pinning down, what is our purpose? What is the Institute's purpose? What is our mission? What's our story? And what do we value? And it's, you think, you almost take it for granted that what is it? What are we doing and why?
Yeah.
And I think Dale Beatty at Stanford puts it very beautifully with his vision of how he runs Stanford Healthcare as a CNO. He says, I think everybody wants to feel like they have a purpose, and
Yes.
I think they want to find their value. And I think purpose and value in all of us, in all of what we do, is part of our story. And that absolutely, you want to see and feel heard. And actually, back to the divorce, sometimes that also means that you need to acknowledge another's perception or value system that's their truth, but it's not your truth. And it's
Yes.
about being able to honor their truth, but that it's not your truth. And then you can make a decision about how you respond, or how you keep them in
Yes.
your life, or how you need to say goodbye, I love you, goodbye. You know, so I think, and actually, those stories, our own personal stories, is really about knowing thyself, knowing yourself,
Yes.
knowing your stories, and knowing that they're valuable, and knowing that actually how you became a nurse was because you wanted to go into a field that was giving, caring, loving environment. Suddenly you enter this healthcare system and you're like, this isn't what I signed up for.
Yeah.
And then trying to manage that and go,
Right.
okay, I don't this ain't quite it, but how can we, collectively
Yeah.
come together like you and I are coming together, and all the work you're doing with Kaiser Permanente and the Caritas coaches and this podcast. How can we collectively give voice and language to this? Is what we need, our stories
Yeah.
collectively.
Yeah, it's so important. And so I think a part of my journey when I felt restless and when I felt burnt out and stuff like that, when Dr. Jane
Yeah.
Watson's theory came in 2010, when I found my why again, then it
Mm-hmm.
actually gave me the voice and the language, of course, but also
Mm-hmm.
the voice to be able to speak out what was in you that you couldn't articulate from the beginning. So it's just it's very powerful. So anyone out here listening, because this show is really grounded in your wellness, is I think a really important part is to discover your story. Be okay with finding out your story and then sharing it because it's so transformational. Like that story you just told me, Julie, it was so beautiful and that it really can change hearts and minds at the same time. So thank you for that story. So,
Yeah. Thank you. And I think, not to interrupt you, but I
oh,
think you were wanting to talk about leadership as well. And I
yes,
think, at that moment with that young boy, I was a leader in a sense. I was
yes,
leading him, and I had I was, an adult, a grown up. But I think that's also a good example of that collaboration leadership,
yes,
and that you are it's like that coaching model
yes,
that my mom talks about, that you are all doing this together. And yes, there needs to be leadership, but part of being a leader, it is really about having time for reflection
yes.
and having time to really sit within your own story so that you can, make sure everybody's seated on the right seat of the bus, which is sometimes challenging, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm
Mm-hmm.
so excited about that. So tell me about your wellness journey, first of all. Tell me about how you take care of Julie.
It's funny because when we enter this work and we realize the value, how important it is to take care of self and take some time out for self. And that, sometimes that doesn't need to be like, I got to go to the gym, or I got to go take a walk and meditate. It's actually, I'm going to watch this Netflix show. It's
Yeah.
just giving yourself permission to be you. What do you need? Um, I'm getting much better at it. And part of that is because, well, we're running an organization, and our whole premise is to care for ourselves. Like we we're trying to teach, or trying to inspire the people, colleagues, and our learners, to that self-care is the first step here. And so suddenly the institute gets suddenly really busy, and we're all really stressed out, and we're like, wait, what's going on here? We can't, like, you guys got to take care of yourself. We have to really, and that's, we get called, we call ourselves out on it. you know and I think really, my own self, I'm very lucky. I made a decision to, move from England to Florida. And part of the reason why I made that decision, had graduated as a Caritas coach, and I love England. I love England. I still have, part of my family there, and I lived right on the sea, full of pebbles. and it was cold and windy, but it's, oh, it's nice when you get old,
Yeah.
your Wellington boots on and your raincoat, and you go for a walk. And then we went, my husband Hector, his family lives here, and I'd never been to Florida, and he brought me here. And he was saying I'd like to sort of move here, and I went to the beach and I sat on the beach, and the beach was like, the sand was like sugar sand.
Mm.
and and it was so soft and it was so warm. In my past work, I worked right along the seafront, where sometimes it was so windy, I was being pushed back from my work
Wow.
that I couldn't even open the door. And I just had this kind of epiphany of like, it's okay. I can be
Mm.
gentle and kind to myself. I don't have to fight through the world and, oh, single mother, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can let go of that. I can let go of that, and I can be kind and gentle to myself. And so I guess my self-care is trying to, you know, remind myself that I love myself,
Yes.
and turn off those little
Yeah.
inner, you got to do this, and oh, you don't look great, and oh, you put on a few. You've got to try to turn that down a little bit and imagine that you're your best friend. What would you say to your best friend? You look beautiful. I
That's
love you,
awesome. That's awesome. I love
So,
that.
so
You,
it ain't, sometimes it's hard, but we get there. And it is about, when you think about meditation, you start off meditation, starting off like, how do you meditate? And there's that funny cartoon where there's like this guy trying to meditate, and all he's thinking about is, did I pick up the milk? Did I lock the door? Buy the groceries? But as you continue, allow yourself that. Okay, I see that, and you just kind of let that flow away. As you meditate more and more, and maybe even it's 2 minutes, it does. You start, you're able to. It takes time.
Well, you know what? I like what you said. You just maybe I just need to watch Netflix. I mean,
Yeah.
because it's not rocket science. Because I think sometimes we make it, oh, I can't spend this quiet time. There's nothing quiet around me, so I
Mm,
can't do this. So I love how you said that because
mm,
it might be something like that. I remember. I'm gonna be like brutally honest here. When I was doing
mm.
my master's program, the way that I would cope with the stress is I binge watch Netflix.
Yeah, that's
I've
it.
never done that before, and I found myself, and it was such a wonderful space to be in. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
that felt good. But after I did that, I was ready to roll again. So I
exactly.
love how you
Yeah.
said that. And the other thing that is so important that you said is we hold ourselves accountable. And I think
Mm,
in the healthcare system, as a leader in the healthcare system, everybody can be going, 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 but somebody has to take a step back and say, hey, you
mhm,
guys, is this really well-being that we're talking about right here? Is this really
mhm,
wellness?
mhm,
We're actually
mhm,
not practicing what we're preaching. And so I
mhm,
love how
mhm,
you said that because I think it takes that
mhm,
for us to say, hey, you guys, is this really
mhm,
what we're supposed to be doing? This is not what we're telling our
mhm,
people to do.
mhm,
So thank you for pulling that out because I
mhm,
think that's an important part for organizations to see
mhm,
because
mhm,
we have
mhm.
these huge visions and missions, but are we really doing, I mean, practicing what we really want our employees to practice? So beautiful call out on that one, Julie.
Mm, mm, mm.
So tell
It
us anything on that?
Well, I think it's, what's exciting now is that, as you say, it's that, modeling. So, when we think of a leader or a manager, you close your eyes and you think of maybe somebody with, behind a big desk with glasses on, kind of very far from you, or
Yeah.
sort of making lists. Well, actually, let's, it's about dissecting that. And I don't know if you're a Caritas leader, but
Yes.
that leadership is, it's a different model. And I think that's what's really exciting. It's about, leaders saying, yeah, I binge watched Netflix. It was fantastic. You know what I mean? And then
Yes.
I was ready. And so, and then that whole thing about that hierarchical,
Yeah.
situation, that Jean always talks about, we're breaking that down, because actually the nurses have the answers to all things
Yes.
that are crumbling. But I just wanted to say there is a not only Jean Watson, but there is a PhD professor here at FAU called Dr. Angela Prestia, Prestia, and she writes a lot about leadership. And there's some interesting work that she writes about leadership and self-reflection,
Hmm.
and
Yes.
sort of like, how does one lead, by example, but also in a collaborative way, but still ensuring that there are specific, so
Right.
it's not like, hey, yeah, let's all do it together, kumbaya. No,
No.
it's
Yeah.
making sure that there's clarity and purpose.
And I mean, really, a true leader doesn't have to say that they're a leader. It's
Right.
demonstrated in what they do. So, so yeah, I love that. So, Julie, how can you help people, organizations out here in what you're doing now? Because we really want to go after the well-being of our service industry and our healthcare workers. So, what do you offer
Mm,
to those
mm,
people?
mm, mm, mm. Well, I think with Watson Caring Science Institute, what we offer is a variety of ways into this work. So, Dr. Jean Watson has a million letters after her name. She's a high academic, she's a theorist, she's a philosopher. And sometimes you're like, oh, it's too high. What do So there's different ways in. And that's why, in a way, there are so many different people and individuals with different letters behind their name that value and respect her. So what's
Yeah.
really fascinating to her work is that not only is she highly respected as the NANA living legend, but she's also been able to articulate in an accessible way how her theory can actually be translated on the unit floor, or in your kitchen, or
Yes.
with your kids, or with your husband. And I think the last time we spoke, you spoke about that toolkit,
Yeah.
and that it's or your backpack of like, this theory, and I'm talking really about the 10 Caritas processes. So the 10 Caritas processes, I like to say, they are like the 10 commandments of nursing, or they're the 12-step program. They're kind of a reference for you, reference point,
Yes.
especially when you're engaged with someone who's really challenging. Maybe that's a colleague, or maybe that's a patient that's like, how am I gonna listen to this person's story authentically, and how am I gonna, just turn down the tension in the room. So I think, to answer your question, is what we offer, we hope, are ways of supporting the work that nurses and other caregivers are doing, but calling them on it, like pointing it out to them. So, those micro moments, which are often considered not important, or, as one of our strategists says, it's women's work, so it doesn't count.
Mm.
How do we bring that to the fore and say, actually, this quiet moment and this observation of this nurse pausing before entering that room changed the dynamic of that whole room and supported that individual's care. I'm going off script here, but basically what we do is we just offer professional development and educational opportunities. I mean, that's kind of it. But what we do, we offer, it's courses. They're accredited by the American Holistic Nurses Association. Caritas Coach course is one of our most popular course. Caritas Leadership. We also offer free courses, Caring Science Mindful Practice, which has an element of Thich Nhat Hanh's work of mindful practice, which is for anyone. I mean, we've had managers from Starbucks in there, and it's open online, it's free, accessible. But importantly, we offer consulting, to to hospital systems and to academic systems. And Charlene, you are one of our newest expert faculties that is going up on our site. And then we also offer, I'm probably going over my time, but one of
Oh,
the
no, you're
other,
good. You're good. You're perfect.
okay, I don't want to move, but I think the other key thing, and this is something I think I learned from my previous work when I was working with young people, is that celebration moment. We offer what's called a lotus recognition, and that is a very accessible, easy application. It's not a big deal. It's you've already got the info from all your, all of the papers you're having to write up or all the magnet journey. But it's basically the lotus recognition evidences the caring Caritas processes. So I think you have to have at least like sort of give us three examples of how a Caritas process or two or three Caritas processes has informed your unit or your hospital. And what's exciting about that is that it's showcasing those softer but profound changes that happen in hospitals. And so then what happens is it's a nationally recognized celebratory event when you receive a Lotus recognition, and it showcases, oh, we created a little reflective garden. Oh, we created a Watson room. Oh, we actually created a little self-care card in this corner. Your community, oh, we just got an award. These guys just got this award, and it's a national award, and it's in the newsletter. And what is this? It's caring.
Yeah.
It's caring. And guess what? Oh, what is this about? And so I think it's very, very important, that sort of celebratory event within the community to
Yeah.
show the value of the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I mean for other organizations, I mean for me, I've been in it since let's see, when did I 2010 is when I got my aha moment and I got reignited. But what I love about caring science is it helps you in a sense. So all of us are unique, beautiful individuals. So you bring these 10 Caritas processes together and you put them into your digestive system and you get creative. Like I didn't know that I was creative the way that I was. And so I was able to translate it into my practice in so many different ways. And that's what I love when I come to conferences or I'm online with one of your sessions. You can hear all of the different things that all of us are doing that's stemming from those 10 Caritas processes. So I do believe they're like the 10 commandments, like you
It's
said
true.
earlier. Yeah, but it also helps you to unlock this linear thought process and to be more gestalt, more in the moment and being able to pull. And that's why I do call it a toolkit, because if I am confronted with a very difficult conversation, and then I can pull out Caritas process number 5 and I can
Yeah,
practice that.
yeah,
So I love how you explain that. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
believe that this is so critical, especially now
Mm-hmm.
with caring
Mm-hmm.
science, because in the world that we're living and with everything going on around us, to be authentically me in the midst of
Mm-hmm.
all of this is pretty
Mm-hmm.
amazing. It really is. I don't get caught up, like there's an opportunity for us to get caught up into everything that's going on. If you ground yourself in the work, you don't really get caught up. Yeah, you might get upset about a couple things, but then you come back to your center and say, okay, what can I really make a difference in right now where I'm at? Because that's where I'm at. Where am I? What can I do right now that will impact this around me? You
Yeah,
know?
especially right now. I love
Yes.
that. And I love what you talk about. I think that's what's really important about our Caritas conferences or unconferences, because
Yes. And conferences.
it really is about people feeling safe to share what they've
Yeah.
been doing and like not feel like, did I do it right? And it's like, oh
Right.
my gosh, I love that. I love that you did that. How did you do that? And where did you get those things? And so it's really exciting, because you then feel like, oh, well, then you share in what way you've been using the Caritas process, or how has it shown up in your practice. So I think you're absolutely right. It's kind of, and you know, it's a funny old time out there right now. But
Yes.
I think part of that, as you say, it's about just taking a step and reflecting and being mindful before acting or reacting, because it's
Yes.
so tempting, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
In whatever
absolutely.
way. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
well, and then
I
you can
think,
catch yourself, like
yeah,
if you
yeah,
don't take a step back, you'll get pulled into the vapor.
yeah.
And if we really are truly after well-being, then I have to
Hmm.
protect my heart. I have to protect everything about me. Not
Hmm.
saying that it's
Hmm.
easy to do that, but
Hmm.
if we practice, it gets easier, and then you don't react. You just pause before. I mean, I'm loving it because even in the midst of everything, I can still be authentically me and still
Hmm.
demonstrate love, even
Hmm.
though it
Hmm.
probably shouldn't be demonstrated.
Hmm.
You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
Really, that's what the care
Yeah.
process. I mean, it's practice loving
Yeah.
kindness toward myself first. And so if I
Yes.
know something's going to cause me to not be loving, then I'm going to be
Hmm.
guarded. I'm going to watch that so that I can keep that pure heart
Hmm.
of love. So
Hmm.
that's why I
Hmm. Hmm.
absolutely love you
Hmm.
guys. You
Hmm.
guys have been a blessing in my life. Since
Hmm.
2010, I heard
Hmm.
Dr. Jane Watson say it's better to light the fire within versus underneath as a leader. And when she said that,
Hmm.
I was like, that is it. I am going to light
Hmm.
the wick of everybody that I come in
Yeah.
contact with this
Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah.
work in caring science, because all you
Hmm.
need is just a little spark. And then
Hmm.
you can
Hmm.
just go ahead
Hmm.
and do everything that you can imagine that you can do. So I honor you, Julie, for the work that you're doing. You're so amazing. I remember when I first met you, I was like, oh my gosh, she's so sweet. But you
Thank
also
you.
have this, but you also have this other side is, look, this girl don't play. This girl.
Well, that's what I think that's my, my sort of secret, I don't know, my secret sauce is,
Yeah,
my mother is she's so generous and she's so giving, and she also wants to share this work. And I guess my contribution is that I support that, but I also want to make sure that this work stays on in perpetuity. And in that sense, we do have to have a business model so that we can,
right.
protect the intellectual property, so that we know that there's a quality of experience that people are receiving. And we're nonprofit, and we want members, and we need, we've got a caring store to so. And I know it's sometimes it's uncomfortable for people, because it's like, this should, no, it's not, it's there's a tension there. But I feel proud and strong, in the sense that I feel my purpose is to sometimes be the bad cop, or sometimes have the money conversation, and taking that away from Jean, because
Yeah.
she shouldn't be dealing with that. I mean,
Well,
she
then
should
I
be
think it's
writing her visionary work,
exactly. Well, I
not
think
doing the
it's,
books.
see, but that comes from, I mean, this comes in, this just popped into my awareness. So what you're doing, you love her and the work so much that you do what you need to do. So my coach, he gave us a definition of love, and love is contending with another person for their highest good in every
Mm,
situation until it
mm,
becomes a manifestation. So there is some contending with love because, yeah, you can't
mm.
just give, give, and give. Someone has to come in and
Yeah,
say, so I think what you're doing is divine,
yeah.
because it does have to be protected, and it does, but it's because of your heart of love. You are
It is.
contending for her legacy to live on
I
beyond all of us.
I do believe in that, and I believe in her work so strongly. And that, I know that, I don't know if you're going to be speaking to Cheryl Handy anytime soon. I recommend her. She's one of our board members, but
Okay.
she really, this comes from nursing, and it is for nurses and caregivers. But Charlene, I know that you can see how this can evolve outside of the nursing. world.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of what we're so it comes from nursing. It will ever, forever have that place. And it will always be honored and homaged to the field of nursing. But this can be wider
Absolutely.
than nursing. And so I think, again, that's another vision that we think about when we think about Dr. Jean Watson's work, because it has such profound effect on us. I'm
Yeah.
not a nurse, but it has profoundly impacted my life and transformed my life and the way that I look at it, the way that I
Well,
look through my lens.
Well, I mean, you just hit it because I think if you are a human being, you can be impacted by the work because this is really about humanity. It's about the
Mm-hmm.
customer service rep that's over at the auto mall. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So they're people and they need to practice loving kindness to their customers and they
yeah,
need it back at them. So I do
yeah.
see it too, Julie. So that'll be my last question
Mm.
for you. What
Okay.
would your dream your for the future be for well-being, for caring science, for the work that you're doing? What is your future dream, or what would you like to see in the future?
I guess for the for the institute, um, I'd like to see it develop in a way that is fit for purpose, and with enough time to make sure that it maintains its integrity.
Hmm.
Um, so, my mother's 84. We need to be mindful of that. And there will never be another Gene Watson ever. And, it's not. And so, but, but we know this work. You know this work. Our academic, colleagues know the academic work. So that I think what's important is that this work continues into perpetuity. I guess as WCSI being the kind of leading on that, but co-creating that with us, with
Yes.
with with all of us together, co-create, which goes back to that leadership model. So I guess that's the Watson Caring Science Institute. I'd love to see that, and we need to get more funding. I need to apply for more, nonprofit funding. But for me personally, I would like to be able to sit on the beach more. I'd like to be able to watch the sunsets more often, um, read a book that has nothing to do with my work.
Wonderful. I love it. That is
And
wonderful. I can
yeah,
see
and
that
dance.
happening. Yeah, oh yeah,
Yes,
you are a
let's
good
set
dancer.
that's so important. So let's set our intention. Okay, so that's my
Yes,
intentions.
that's your intention. I'm going to see that
Okay.
happen. No,
Yeah,
but it
so
has been,
you're in. You're helping.
yes. Okay, I'm there. So thank you so much, Julie, for taking the time to come on the show. You are such a blessing and
Oh,
really a
you.
beacon of light in the work that you're doing. I'm forever grateful and I'll always be a part of what you are
Yeah,
doing. So thank you,
thank
and I
you.
look forward to seeing you soon. Oh, what
Thank you so
about if
much.
people want to get in touch with you? Let's do that. And if people,
Yeah, so our website is www.watsonCaringScience.org. And my email is very simple. It's julie@watsonCaringScience.org. So please get in touch, have a look at the website. There's different programs, fee for free and fee and different timings, and there's also articles if you're a student. I hope that there's many different inroads. So please
yeah.
do reach out to us. And we have a lovely caring store which has some beautiful, various priced self care and for your colleagues gifts, basically.
Okay,
Hmm.
well, thank you so much for being on the show, Julie, and we will see
Thank
you
you.
soon.